Yeah, just another reason why I think elementary school teachers deserve hazard pay. I mean, to go through that, and my guess is if some of you need to go to the bathroom, you don't need to ask my permission. You can just go. So I am Juno. I am the lead pastor here. And again, thank you for joining us. And I know for some of you coming here on a Christmas Eve is pure tradition. It's just what you do. And for others of you, you come because you've been invited by some family or some friends. For others of you, you have been threatened to be here because they're your spouse or they're your son or they're your son or your daughter, and they says, come on, just go with me once. And some of you are here still dragging your feet, and you're hoping, as the little girl said, that long story isn't too long tonight. So I'm not sure why you're here. I'm just glad you are here, and I am just trusting the Lord to move among all of us, no matter why you actually came. Well, we've been looking at Christmas, this season before Christmas that is called Advent. And we've been looking at it from a different perspective. Because, for most of us, we've been hearing about it our entire life. Whether you're 5 or whether you're 50 or 90 or beyond, you've heard the story. Many of you have been in so many Christmas Eve services that you can't even remember. But yet you're here. And so I just want to dive into again to remind us about the Christmas story. And again, all month we have been using the symbol of a wreath. It's over here, it's our Advent wreath. And it's not in the Bible, but that doesn't mean it's not biblical. Churches around the world use an Advent wreath. Now, some use different color candles. Some assign different names to each of those candles. Whatever fits that particular congregation and that church is fine. Again, it's a symbol to help us to really get a better grasp on this thing called the Christian faith. And so, and again, it's a wreath. So it's in a circle. And it's evergreen, meaning it's always green, which symbolically tells us that God's love is always there for us. Doesn't make a difference what you did in the past. And I've heard some pretty interesting stories. God doesn't care about that. Doesn't make a difference for what you didn't do. Doesn't make a difference for the should-haves. Oh, I should have, God's love is always there. And this is the season that all of the world, even those who don't even come into a church, all of the world points to something about Christmas. Madison Avenue tells us we need to change it to be politically correct to holidays, but it's really about Christmas. We know that. And so as we think about this symbol, we have 4 different names for those candles. And we start off by talking about hope, about the idea that really hope is a part of us that helps us to get up and face the next day, no matter what that may be. It's a part of our human desire that God has wired into us that we have hope. Some will say if you remove hope from somebody, you might as well call it a day for them. And if you've been hopeless, you have felt that at one time or another. And in the quietness of your own heart, you have said, I've got to have some hope. Or there's got to be hope for this situation. In fact, Christopher Reeve says it this way: once you choose hope, anything's possible. And then we also read in Isaiah 40:31, words that were written to a very discouraged group of people. We read these words: but those who have hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They shall soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Again, hope is one of those parts of us that's been God-given. And yet at times, we look for other ways to obtain that hope. Some of you are hoping for that perfect Christmas gift. Some of you have probably checked the charge account online to see where those gifts were bought. And maybe was it ordered, and maybe you are getting it. I think it's only in commercials that somebody gets a set of car keys for their Christmas present. But you may be hoping for that. If you have a set of car keys you want to give away, I'll call you Dad, and I'll be happy to get those keys. But again, hope is something we all need and strive for. And then there's joy. The idea of joy, and really nobody likes a killjoy. Nobody likes somebody who does not have hope. You've probably been around enough parties where there's a party pooper in there that just doesn't get with it, that really has no joy, even though in reality they have everything to be joyful about, but there are those people that no matter what it is, they are just not joyful. And it is a part of us that we need. Not that we have to put on the fake face, and when our world comes crashing in, do we need to smile and say, "Oh, I love Jesus"? That's not really what joy is. Joy really helps you to get through those times when something hits the fan, and the least thing on your mind is joy. But if joy comes from Jesus, you're able to find that no matter what your situation is. You realize that, my joy isn't found in the gifts under the tree. It isn't found in having the right friendships or the right relationship. It's something deeper, and the Advent wreath points us to that deeper purpose and the deeper source of joy. We read in John in the New Testament, John 16, verse 24, "Until now you have not asked for anything in my name. Ask and you will receive, and your joy will be complete." And then just another verse from the same author says this, "I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete." Folks, some of us are looking for joy in a bottle. Some of us looking for joy in a pill. Some of us look for joy in the things that we have, or, the vehicle we drive or the home that we have. Is it a big enough home? And we try to attach ourselves to these things, and yet we realize that, it's just not in the things. And so we are reminded of that during this season. We talk about the idea of often, and if you've watched the Charlie Brown Christmas, you know it, from Luke 2, when the angels were singing, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace to those on whom his favor rests." And so peace is another really natural part of our development, natural part of our humanity that the candle represents. At least that's what we have been focusing on over the last few weeks. And again, I think peace, though, it's like Jell-O, You just can't get your hand around it, You go to grab that Jell-O, unless it's the finger Jell-O. You just can't grab it. It's sort of like the girl said in there about a butterfly. You really can't grasp it, but you think you know what it is, and you know you need it, but it's difficult to get on our own. And then we think of Jesus. He came to this world, the angel said there's going to be peace, and yet from the time he was born to the time he died, there was everything but a peaceful world. It was all hitting the fan, folks. There was political corruption. There was the abuse of power. There was oppression. There were where people were being disregarded, for no humanity given to them or respect. And that all happened while Jesus walked on this earth. It makes you wonder a little bit about peace, and yet in the Jewish culture, we've all heard the word shalom, meaning peace from within, meaning that word encompasses everything about us. It's not just, oh, bye, or adios. No, it's shalom. It means from the core of your being out, peace. Peace in every area of your life, financially and spiritually and relationally and materially, peace. And so when you hear the word shalom, just know that is going right to the heart and to the character, and that is the peace that we get from Jesus. Now, it is interesting that the Advent wreath has in the center of it a candle that is the Christ candle that's lit to nave, representing the coming of Jesus, representing the idea of bringing all of these areas of our life together. And then there's a candle of love. And again, for some of you, that's a warm fuzzy, and for others of you, it's like, I don't even want to go there. But we're talking about God's love. We're talking about the God of creation, the maker of heaven and earth, leaving all of glory to walk among us. I just had some friends visit me. I don't even give up my bedroom for them. They can sleep on the couch. Their kids can, I'm not. And yet the God of creation gave up everything to walk among us, to do some management by walking around because we were just blowing it as people. In fact, what was probably happening is all those elements of hope, of joy, of peace, and of love, people were finding in other ways besides the God of creation. And God finally said, you know what? Time out. They're just not getting it. And so here comes Jesus on the scene, and here's why we have Christmas. And Paul talks about this love of God. He talks about it in a chapter in 1 Corinthians that some of you probably had at your wedding. And we read, and these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Now, the author was talking about all kinds of aspects of life, of giftedness, of what people can do. Like Ryan clearly showed us, some people can dance. Ryan cannot. That is not one of his gifts, at least this type of dance. I'm not going anywhere else with that, Ryan. And so we all gifted it in different ways. But Paul tells us that all of these, no matter what you do, no matter how much you make, no matter the title after your name, the degrees after your name, no matter where you live, no matter what you give to the church, even if you funded the whole kitchen for $60,000, that is not going to get you love. That is not going to give you the hope, the joy, and the peace that only comes from Jesus. And we just sort of forget that. Because we are just in a culture where we just want to try harder, work longer, get to the next level, whatever that level may be, and then we're successful. Then we've accomplished our purpose in life. And yet many of you would share that, you know what, I've done that, and I'm still void on one of those areas that we've just been talking about. And again, the good news really is that Jesus is the source of who we are, of our complete being, and he is the one that gives us the ultimate of hope, of joy, of peace, and of love. So I'm going to invite the worship team back out here, and we're going to continue to sing a couple more songs that if you're able to, why don't you please stand and join us? And after those songs, we are together going to light our candles to remind us that Jesus is the light of the world.